Hi, everyone, and welcome to Dead to Rights, the podcast for readers, authors, and the crime genre industry. I'm your host, Donna Carrick. We're here today with Blair Keetch, author of several short stories and a soon-to-be-released novel. His stories have appeared in anthologies such as In the Key of 13 by the Mesdames of Mayhem. His story title there is A Contrapuntal Duet, and it's a very diabolical story. So if you enjoy mysteries, please look up In the Key of 13 and find Blair Keetch's short story. I think you'll really enjoy it. It's great to be back for Season 3 of Dead to Rights. I was really worried that we wouldn't be able to do it, but this current COVID situation really made it clear to me that you've got to do the things you want to do when you want to do them, because there's no time like the present, and tomorrow is not guaranteed, to steal an old cliche. As a writer, we're not supposed to use cliches, but some of them are quite appropriate, and that is definitely one of them. And this podcast is something I've always wanted to do, so it's got to be continued, and I finally realized that. So Season 3 it is. Please go back and look up episodes 1 and 2. Episode 1 was with Rosemary McCracken, author of the very popular Pat Tierney mystery series, so please look her up and please enjoy her series. And episode 2 was with Caro Souls, who is a very unique and original author who writes off-world mystery series, the Mercurian mystery series, and some of her latest feature a character by the name of Marlowe, a detective who is a Mercurian detective. And they're very well written and really quite good stories. And both authors also have a lot of short stories that are available, so look them up. Rosemary McCracken and Caro Souls. In addition to being here with all these great authors, it's also a chance for me to promote and get the word out about our upcoming anthology, A Grave Diagnosis, coming out in the fall of 2020 by Carrick Publishing. If you have a short story that's either gathering dust or it's an idea in your mind, please get to work on it. We'd love to see it. And if you're an author that's looking to increase your platform, what better way than to get in with a bunch of other authors into an anthology that everyone is going to help to promote, because all the authors have a shared interest in promoting it. So that's something that you really should look into doing. The anthology is going to be titled A Grave Diagnosis, and this is really important. Submission deadline is June 1st, so that's coming up fast. The word count is to be between 1,500 and 8,000 words, so not less than 1,500, not more than 8,000. There must be a clear crime. It's a crime fiction, and it must also feature an illness of some sort. To go along with the title and the theme, A Grave Diagnosis. So send your story submission to carrickpublishing@rogers.com. In the subject line, please say, story submission, grave diagnosis. And also, please be sure to use Word document format. I cannot work with any other format, so there's no point sending any other format. For full story guidelines, please look at our website, www.carrickpublishing.com. I have a short public service announcement that I've promised to insert, so here we go. COVID-19, better known as coronavirus, has spread throughout the world. People with chronic and/or severe health conditions are at higher risk of complications as they contract the disease. Watch for symptoms such as cough, fever, and shortness of breath. If you are experiencing these symptoms, please call a hotline and/or consult medical advice. Clean and disinfect high-touch surfaces. For more information, please visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. Thank you. And now, please welcome Blair Keetch.
Well, welcome to Rights.
Well, thank you very much. Very glad I can participate.
Yes.
And how have you been keeping with the, before we get started, you're working from home, obviously.
I'm working from home, yes. I'm coping pretty well. You know, I was sharing an office downstairs with my husband, but we're both on the phone so much, it just didn't work. So I ended up being shunted upstairs. So a few minor adjustments. I think I'm going to have to wrestle him for the printer because I print a lot more, but other than that, we're fine.
Oh,
You
okay.
know? Yeah. How about you? Are you coping okay? Everybody in your family as well?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm sort of running between two households. My mother has been, and nothing to do with the COVID virus. It's just, unfortunately, old age. But she's been in very frail condition, I guess, since early New Year. So my brother and I had pledged that we'd keep her at home as long as we could. And, thankfully right now we wouldn't want her in a retirement home because that's where,
No.
they're having, the old age homes. So he happened to be in town because he lives in Newfoundland, actually. But he was in town just before all this stuff started. So he's kind of ended up being here. So I stay here probably about 4 or 5 nights a week just to help him. We have some caregivers coming in the morning, but in the afternoons,
Right.
we're pretty well by ourselves. So we're just looking after my mom then. And then I'll run home because, I have my wife and my toddler. So I'll run home sometimes
Mhm.
during the afternoon, or on the weekends, I'll usually spend a couple of nights there. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's been
It's
working
not
out
easy
pretty good.
being in the sandwich generation. I mean, I went
Yeah.
through that over a 6-year period with both parents. First my mother in 2000 and then my father in 2006. But my father was sick for quite a while after my mother died. So
Oh,
it
dear
was
me.
a lot of racing around. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you
I, I've
know,
been I've been fortunate. My mom, she turned 90 in October, and really it's just been the past 3 months that she's really had any major. She started to have memory issues maybe 6 months ago, but for the most part, she's been in pretty good health for most of her time here. So.
well, that's good. That's some pretty great genes you've
Oh
got.
yeah, yeah. Keep my
Yeah.
fingers crossed.
I know it's no guarantee of anything, but it's a good start.
Doesn't hurt. That's true.
No, it doesn't hurt. No, that's for sure. So I wanted to talk to you about your writing and what you're working on right now. Tell me, what are you working on right now?
I'm working on a couple of short stories. It was interesting because until the Madame of Mayhem, I hadn't really considered myself a short story writer because I tend to be long and gregarious
Yes,
and
same here.
more excessive kind of thing. So to me, it is such an art form for any short story writers. I'm always in awe of them because I think to get it distilled down. But since In the Key of 13 came out, I've actually been working on a couple of short stories as well as a longer novel in progress. But I find with my longer work in progress, at times I do put it on pause a little bit, maybe just to let the juices flow or ruminate. And I'd say I'm probably about maybe about halfway point, just the halfway point for the book. Where short stories, I'm actually working on 2 short stories. Actually, I'm working on a submission for a grave diagnosis, but I'm in the
Oh, thank
research.
you.
I'm on that because I thought that was such a neat concept, and then I came up with what I hope would be an intriguing scenario, but it is requiring a lot more research than I would
Yes.
typically do. Good thing I'm not a hypochondriac because I'm reading about all these things, various
I could
symptoms, and
not
it's like,
ask my husband to write one for that very
yeah,
reason.
because it's sort of like, oh, this is a sign of a brain tumor, and like, do I have a headache now, kind of thing. But
I know, I know. It's
hopefully it's not
terrible.
contagious by the research. So usually I have something on the front burner and a couple of ideas on the back burner. And with my work, the longer work in progress, it kind of goes back and forth because I am, what's the I know there's a phrase, do you fly by the seat of your pants, or do you
Are you a plotter or a pantser?
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly. And I'm definitely more of a pantser. I would say, I probably have a good idea of the major plot points and, certain events that are going to happen, but I certainly don't have it mapped out from, A to B to C to D. I
Mhm.
kind of like to discover as I go along. And as you know, the characters often surprise you. And,
Yes, yes,
and,
they do.
for one of the characters in my work in progress, it started off what I thought was a fairly minor character and has now become a very strong secondary character. And it's just the way that, that the personality of that character is emerging and flourishing. And that's the great thing to me about writing. You just don't know exactly what will happen. It's a surprise even to the creator.
Yes, it is, definitely. That's exactly right. I was speaking with Caro this morning, and we were saying how both of us are very character driven. And, I mean, I love a good plot. I love the twists. I love the turns. I love all of that. But it can't be the whole enchilada for me. I mean, it's got to be a good plot because the character demands it. It can't be, yeah.
Exactly. And sorry, some of my favorite writers too are those that have created a series of books with the same character, and that's why you return to them, because you're fascinated. The mystery is integral, but it's that character that their weaknesses or how they grow or their arc, or you become very enamored of them, of a particular character, and that's why you keep on returning.
Exactly. Now, I know that you are working away on a novel. Do you know the title of it yet? Can you share the title of it yet?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Right now, I'm working with the title of Flight Risk. Because partially part of my background, I worked in the airline industry for probably close to 2 decades. And part of the book takes place not so much within the airline industry, but with there's a couple of different international locations that fall into it, and that sort of drives the initial mystery. So it's sort of tied into my experiences, because at that time I did have the luxury of traveling a fair bit too.
Yes. Wow. Well, that's really, I love the title too. It's very, very catchy. I work a lot with Rick Mafina, and his titles are fantastic. I just love his titles.
His titles always have a very good hook that draw you
very
in
good
immediately.
punch. Yeah, exactly. It's hard to get past our own minds sometimes. I love to be just too clever by half, and sometimes you've just got to cut past that and get down to something that can grab the imagination quickly.
Oh, exactly. So no, glad you like it. Yeah, for this story here, it doesn't necessarily start off as a murder mystery. It's almost it's not so much a who done it. It's why was a particular person there. In a nutshell, it starts off with a wife. She believes her husband is at a convention in Las Vegas, a business convention, and then it turns out he's actually one of the victims of a plane crash halfway around the world. So that's sort of what drives the initial investigation. She wants to know why her husband is somewhere completely different from where she begins to believe. And then it sort of goes into that old saying, appearances can be deceiving, and she hires an investigator, and she finds out more and more about her husband that she had no idea about. So
oh, that sounds really fascinating. I like that. So that is called Flight Risk by Blair Keetch. And Blair, when is that coming out? Do you know?
Despite my procrastination and things like that, I'd really like to have the first draft done by the fall, midsummer. Similar to a lot of writers, I've got a lot of things juggling. I do have another a job that brings in the
thank God for that. Hallelujah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. No complaints there, and it's actually
we don't do it
job,
for the money, people. We don't do it for the money.
No. It's true. You've got to have that passion for storytelling and for writing. And then, as I mentioned, I've got a delightful young toddler who's 3 years old. He'll actually be 4 next week. So, that involves a lot of, starting late in life. but
Mhm.
you know, that involves, as you know, having children of your own. You know, that's a big time commitment in itself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of being able to, you know, make sure I'm spending quality time with my wife and my toddler, and carving out time to write. And that's, I don't know about yourself, but that's why I don't really have a particular writing routine.
Mhm.
As far as timing goes, things like that, you know, it sort of, you know, grab the opportunity as it arises. So if
Yes.
people have gone to bed or I wake up early, you know, that tends to be my proactive writing opportunity. But
Yes. 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 You really have to do it when you can, and
yeah,
that's something that a lot of people just can't grasp, you know. But you do. You've got to do it when you can. You've got to do it when the moment strikes and when it's available. And it can't be too much about oh well, when things smooth out. Or
when the stars align, yeah, that's true.
exactly. When the
And
band plays.
right, exactly. And I think it's a matter of priorities. You have to, within all that's going on, you do have to prioritize your writing, and it probably took me a little while to learn that, because, you know, a lot of my friends will say, "Oh, this is a great TV series," or you know, "This is on TV," or what have you.
Yeah.
And I hardly ever watch TV, and I don't say that as a snob,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of great work on TV, especially
Oh, there
nowadays.
is. There is.
But
Yeah.
I have to be very selective on what I choose, because am I going to watch, you know, 2 hours of TV a night, or am I going to use this as an opportunity to work on my writing? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you
Absolutely.
have to prioritize when they that
You
kind of stuff.
really do. You really do. That's probably the best tip that almost every writer gives to every wannabe writer, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
is you've
But
got to prioritize it. It's got to be important to you. Otherwise, it's not going to happen, because
it
there's an awful lot of distractions in life.
oh,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you're working on a story for a grave diagnosis. Are
Hmm.
you in a position where you can share a tiny bit about that without giving too much away?
I will, a certain bit, to a certain degree. As I say, I'm just in the beginning stages, but one of the things that actually had come to my, when I just started thinking about diagnosis and disease, one of the things that came to my attention was that the last day of February is actually what's known as Rare Disease Day. So where they try and publicize a variety of diseases, because there's certain diseases that, you know, are quite common and unfortunately
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
afflict a lot of people, you know, cancer and heart disease and things like that. But there
Mm-hmm.
are some diseases that are, you know, rare or very uncommon. And so when I started to do some research on that, there's actually a wealth of rare diseases that I never even heard of, with some really interesting things. So I actually thought it would be intriguing to have one of the characters deal with a disease that's not that well known, and how this sort of drives a lot of the plot. Their
Mm-hmm.
disease drives a lot of the actions of the people around them, involving a murder. So,
Yes, yes,
so
yes.
that's at the point where I am right now. Not a great deal to share, but
Well, I'm really looking forward to it.
oh,
Thank you
okay.
very much for working on it. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what else can you tell us about your process? Anything else that you want to share that makes your process a little easier, or?
Yeah, you know, the interesting thing about writing is that I find everyone has their own writing style, and but, you know, speaking to various writers and, you know, any mentors I've worked with, it's amazing that, you know, what you pick up from them. And to your point, some people can be pantsers, or some people will be ultra organized. You know, I know for myself, I really like to do the first draft by pen. Um, I
Wow.
for some reason I have difficulty, or it doesn't flow as much if I'm typing directly into a computer. But then when I'm rewriting, you know, the laptop is my best friend.
Yes.
And it's also partially where I write, because again, given my life circumstances, I'm sort of writing as I have the opportunity to. So a pen paper lend itself very easily as
Mhm.
opposed to a laptop. So it's like, oh, I've got a few moments here, and I'm sitting in a chair, and I'll write away, kind of thing.
You're
So
speaking my
that
dream, my long gone dream, because I was definitely one of those nerd kids that walked around all the time with some type of paper and pen on the go, and to the point that I had this huge, I don't know, barnacle or something on my middle finger of my right hand from holding the pen and gripping it and writing so furiously, you know. And when the keyboard came along into my life, it was like a godsend, because I can key like the wind. I'm actually a really good keyboardist. And so it's hard because I want to go back to pen and paper writing for the first draft, but I get impatient with myself because,
okay.
you know, I could have already typed 10 sentences by the time I got the first few words down.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, and I mean, that's where the beauty of it is, of course, because it forces you to think more deeply, and which is why I want to do it. But I just can't find the patience in my little soul.
There's advantages to both ways. At times, as you say, when you get caught up in it, I can be writing quite quickly, but then unfortunately my penmanship isn't the best. I'm never going to donate my papers to some museum,
You know
because
what you
afterwards
missed?
when I'm putting this, what is that exactly? Kind of thing.
Why did the shoe fly out the window and hit the flying plane?
Exactly.
Wait a minute, that can't
Exactly.
be what I meant. That's too funny, yeah. Well, thank you very much, Blair. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Nice to see you again, virtually in person. And I always enjoy your posts on Twitter, and
Thank you. Yes, yes. Give us your
it's
Twitter handle
on
while we've
social
got
media. So,
give us your
oh
Twitter.
yes, certainly. It's at Blair Keetch. So my first name Blair, last name K, two E's, Eetch.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much, Blair. Have a great day and stay safe and stay indoors.
Okay, will do. You as well, Donna. Stay well.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
I want to thank Blair Keetch for joining us today on Dead to Rights, the podcast video. It's always great to have a new writer on, and while I love our established writers very much, the new ones bring new excitement and new blood into the industry, so please be sure to welcome them. Look up Blair Keetch. I think you're going to enjoy him. Next week, we're going to bring you our interview with M.H. Calway, my very good friend Madeline Harris Calway. And she is the author of Windigo Fire, which is a terrific thriller set in the far north. And she also has quite a number of short stories, including short stories in every one of the Mesdames of Mayhem anthologies and both Carrick Publishing anthologies to date. And I believe she's also working on a story for A Grave Diagnosis. Now, for anyone who hasn't previously heard about A Grave Diagnosis, we are currently seeking submissions for the short story anthology, which will come out in October of 2020. The story must feature an illness of some sort, and it must be a clear and present crime fiction story. So the number of words is between 1,500 and 8,000 for word count. Please send your submission in Word document to Carrick Publishing at Rogers.com, and in the subject line say, A Grave Diagnosis Story Submission. And I'll be sure to get back to you when I receive your story. And also, please spread the word to other authors who may not be well known and who may be looking to increase their platform. Submission deadline is June 1st, so be sure to get your story to us by then. And for full submission guidelines, go to www.carrickpublishing.com. My special thanks go out to Ted Carrick, the composer and performer of Eyes of Gold, which is our Dead to Rights theme song. And if you'll stay with us as we wrap up, we're going to play the full song for you. So please be sure to hit like, subscribe. You can find us at YouTube. You can find us wherever you find your podcasts if you're a listener on the run. iTunes, Google Play, I think we're now on Spotify. And any place else, look for us, please. And that's Dead to Rights. Please hit subscribe and like, because it really, truly helps these authors and gets the word out. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week when we bring you M.H. Calloway, Madeline Harris Calloway.
A dusty road, a man alone. His vital signs go on hold. And I don't know what you've been told, but the years have turned my eyes gold. And I told you what you told me, we'd never be in the same boat for free. Yet it rides, let it ride.